Be sure and tell them Large Marge sent ya.
In the 90s, we were just teeny tykes. We went to movies and our bikes. We wanted to be DJs, but we were just teeny gals. So we went off to college and we remained as pals. 20 years later, we're still watching flicks and we're bringing you the favorite bit by bit. Sweetie and Sweetie are here to say it's the Large Marge Santa's podcast.
Hey guys, welcome to the Large Marge Tennis Podcast, your favorite podcast where two Sweetie sisters talk about movies that shaped their childhood. I'm Sweetie with an I.
And I'm Sweetie with a Y.
All right, so I'm entering my 38th week of pregnancy. Woohoo to me.
Woo.
Just had my appointment today. Baby's looking good, sucking his hand, kicking around. So exciting. When I had Sweetie Jr., Sweetie IE Jr., 2 years ago, we did like this whole ramp up to the baby being due with a bunch of baby movies. So what did we do, Sweetie? Do you remember?
We did She's Having a Baby. Terrible movie. We did 9 Months. We did
Junior.
Junior. We did Father of the Bride Part 2. So yeah, we had a good amount.
We got some solid baby ones. So, as typically I think we maxed out a lot of the baby stuff that first pregnancy, but got to give Sweet Eye Jr. His movie.
Mm-hmm.
So we came up. We're gonna try to do a couple baby themed movies. Don't know them as well, but hey, always good to cover a baby. As Sweetie said, babies were crazy time were a popular thing to make movies about,
yes.
Especially in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah. And I think probably we assume because of the success of LeCou's Talking, I assume people were like, wow, real baby in a movie, cool, funny.
Yeah. Right, like what they could do with babies and baby actors and like whatever. So I chose for my selection the hit sequel Honey, I blew up
the
kid.
So
now I put this on Instagram. I could have sworn on Sweetie's life that this movie was called Honey, I Blew Up the Baby.
Okay, but he says that.
Yes.
The character. Rick Moranis
they
literally
call
says
him a baby.
He calls him but he says that exact line in the movie.
Okay.
He calls the wife and says, "Honey, I blew up the baby." So like, why did they not name it that?
So I think it sounds better too, a little alliteration going on there. So I read in the trivia that there was too much of a negative connotation about blowing up a baby in the sense that like you blow up a baby with dynamite.
Yeah, but how is that different from saying I blew up the kid? Like,
I guess
people
a kid you don't matter as much.
People would rather you blow up a kid than a baby?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Violence against babies is like off the charts, like cannot do. So that's why they decided, I guess, to do it. Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. But I just say I've always known this movie as Honey, I Blew Up the Baby my whole life.
Yeah.
I was happy to find out that when I told my husband I was doing this, he said this was on steady rotation in their house. They had the tape.
Whoa.
And I was really happy about that. This is not one I've seen very much. I've only seen maybe like once or twice.
Yep. Same.
But we were such huge fans of the initial Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And that movie was huge and it did really, really well. So that they made this sequel after. So this is from 1992. I think the Shrunk the Kids was like 89, I want to say. So like 3 years later. Stars, the one, the only, I have written in my notes, Gem, next to his name, Rick Moranis. Cannot go wrong with that guy. I love him so much. He's just the best.
He's the best. He's the best. He like oddly reminds us of our dad, even though our dad was like, plumper than Rick Moranis was. But in mannerisms. Maybe it's the glasses. I don't know.
I
There's
don't know.
something.
His
He's
nose?
just like sweet. Like we're not sure, but we love Rick Moranis.
Yeah.
Honestly, everybody comes back from the first, like the central family. They all return to this sequel, which I thought was so lovely. It just it made me so happy.
So great. And I'm so happy to learn that, you know, Rick Moranis is adorable acting with the kid in this movie. Like, he's the most adorable dad of a little kid. You know, he's a dad of older kids. And that I did learn also in the trivia that he improvised a lot of his stuff because he just had to interact with the baby. And he was like so good at it and just like being like a little daddy. Now, we've talked about how, you know, not too long after this, I think Rick Moranis' wife passed away from cancer. And then he went through like a really horrible grieving process. Dropped out of acting, took care of his family, did what he needed to do. So we, you know, missed him from our lives so much, basically like 90s on, mid 90s on. But man, love that guy so much. So Sweetie's right. Almost everyone comes back. So Marcia Strassman is the mom character. The mom who? What is her name? What's the mom's name?
Diane.
Diane. Yeah, Diane. Seems like she's gotten a glow up. She has they've moved to Las Vegas. Maybe that's part of it. Well, from California, but anyway, seems like she's got a glow up. She's very tan. Her hair is impeccable. She has amazing bangs. And the mom is really like a pretty badass in this movie. I will say, like, she really
her.
like takes the
bitch.
movie. Yeah, it's her movie for sure. You have Robert Oliveri and Amy O'Neill reprising their role as Nick and Amy. Nick, Amy only in it for hot sex. She's going off to college. But Nick is just always just the cutie little nerd, basically his dad, like Junior, and is in high school and having girl problems. So, you know, which he always, he didn't have girl problems in the first one. The brother Russ did, right? Yeah. That was
like girl problems, you just mean like has a crush or like what was the problem?
Yeah. That's a girl problem for sure.
Okay.
Then you have Carrie Russell as the babysitter, her first feature film. So young, baby face, still has like that wild, crazy hair. This was
I didn't realize
just after Mickey Mouse Club or maybe like around then.
I didn't realize they were stuck in the pocket the whole time. Like not a lot to do there.
I know. I thought she had more to it too. She
totally.
comes in like so late, and she's kind of like this popular
Mandy
valley girl, but then does really like come around by the end. So I was happy about that character arc. The babies are played by the two little twins. Did I write down their names? I don't think so, but they were sweet. I guess really good baby actors. Usually they use older kids and just say that they're younger. So. What's the baby's name? Alex? Adam is supposed to be a 2-year-old, and they were actually 2 years old because they were like really just good kids, acted really well. Didn't end up doing any other movies as kids or adults, so that's nice. Kind of a fun fact about you. I think the trivia was like one became a firefighter and one became like a computer science major or something.
All right.
Pretty funny. So
great.
Good for them. Would be a great icebreaker question. Hey, I was the baby, and honey, I blew up the kid. You have John Shea as the villain. So if you've ever watched Lois and Clark, New Adventures of Superman, John Shea is Lex Luthor in that, and he's always kind of like a slimy, like bad dude. I feel like he's just like a bad dude face.
He was also in Sex and the City. He was like the supposed
alleged
first love of Samantha.
Right. Ugh.
Dominic.
Yeah. Ew,
he also looks like a bizarro Warren Beatty. And like he looks so much like him. And I'm always like, is that Warren Beatty? And I'm like, oh no, it's that other guy.
I've just never like felt that guy. This crazy fact about him. So there's a point in this movie that they do like these little Easter eggs of Indiana Jones and the first Indiana Jones with the Ark of the Covenant. They find that in the warehouse. I don't know if you noticed that.
Oh, no.
Okay. So they're in this warehouse and there's all these boxes. And one of the boxes says Ark of the Covenant, like property of the U.S. government, blah, blah, blah. So it was like a little Easter egg.
I remember them putting that on the actual box.
Well, apparently they did. And it was an Easter egg for that actor because apparently when they were casting for Indiana Jones, it came down to this John Shea and Tom Selleck. Now, Tom Selleck won the role, but decided to do Magnum P.I. instead. So they needed another actor. And it should have gone to John Shea, but they were like, no, and chose Harrison Ford. Thank God. Can you see that guy as
No.
Indiana Jones?
No.
Ugh, weird.
No charisma.
Not loving it. Yeah, not loving it. You have Lloyd Bridges. Love that guy. Very sweet at the end. It's like the guy who is the laboratory that Wayne works for and is really sweetie guy, like believes in Wayne, even though like the villain John Shea character does not. You have Ron Canada from Adventures in Babysitting, who makes a turn also as a really nice guy. So Adventures in Babysitting, he's like kind of like the muscle of
that
like
goes out the window.
The guy that goes out the window,
skyscraper.
exactly. And in this movie, he's like driving around an ice cream truck, like trying to get like the little baby.
That was my favorite. My
to,
favorite
like,
line.
to get the ice cream.
My favorite line was, "Who can drive an ice cream truck real fast?"
Yeah, he's
If
like,
another person,
I can
if
burn
another
rubber.
person asked me that.
I know.
God.
It's so funny. And then lastly, this is directed by Randall Kleiser, who film credits include none other than Big Top Pee-wee, Flight of the Navigator, and Grease.
Wait, who? Who was
The
that?
director.
Oh, the director.
Yeah.
Wow, Flight of the Navigator.
know.
Crazy.
I'm like, wow.
Wait,
those
who
are
did
my
the first
favorite
one?
movies.
Stuart Gordon?
Yeah, it wasn't the same guy.
Yeah.
It wasn't this guy.
Yeah, Stuart Gordon's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So cast comes back, really cool. Love the running time. It was a sweet 1 hour and a half. So quick, so easy. If you remember, there's another movie that comes out after this one called Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves. Did not see that one. Is Rick Moranis even in that one?
Yeah,
I didn't even check.
Rick is in it. There's a different mom, I think. All I remember from that one is that, like, at some point they need potassium. I don't know why.
Okay.
And they're like, bananas have potassium. And that's when I learned that bananas have potassium. So, like, that's really all I took away from that one. But, yeah. Good times.
Good times. So let's get into it.
Yep.
These are always so interesting, and I really feel for the kids in this because, this 10 plus age gap between kids, like, oof. Like, if I was going to college and my mom and dad, like, had a baby, I would flip the fuck out.
Well, just like, yeah, and like, what was their thought? Like, oh, we went through this traumatic experience when we accidentally shrunk our kids and thought they were gone forever, but we got them back and we decided, let's have another one so that we can fuck that one up too. It's like, it was strange. But yeah, so awkward age difference. Nikki's not really having it. What can you do? What can you do?
I wouldn't either. And like, they're, again, like such sweet parents, but I really feel for them. I've had my kids so close together in 2 years. I can't imagine like being done, quote unquote, and then like your kids are like freaking in high school, and then they're like, yeah, let's start this all over again. Let's do that. Let's like I'm already freaking out about that. Like my first kid is in such a good spot where I'm like, okay, like we went through all the hard stuff, and then we got, in some ways it's exciting because we're like, oh, we get to do it all over again, but also it's like, oh my God, we have to do that all over again? Like, dang it.
Yeah.
So
maybe it was an accident. Maybe it was an accident baby. Like,
I wish they would have talked about it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even mentioned. Like, hey, why is there a 18-year age gap between your children? Like, crazy.
Weird.
Anyway, it's time for the Sweetie Synopsis. Yeah, Sweeties. Wow. Look at that mother. No pun intended.
The
It's a giant mom.
Szalinski family has moved to Las Vegas, Nevada, presumably for Wayne Szalinski's new job, where he's working at like another lab. They've brought his shrinking machine, and he's
Well,
now
they're working on
trying to do the opposite. Yep. So he's already figured out how to shrink down something. They want to blow something up, and by blow something up we mean make it bigger, so like enlarge something. But it's not going well, and they can't really figure out like why they can't get this to work. I'm unclear on the hierarchy of this lab, this new lab. Like, why did Wayne get demoted like immediately when he joined? Like, there's no like real backstory or like, I don't know.
I think that lead scientist is just a dick.
He was just Yeah, he was just an asshole.
And here's how you know it. He has slick back hair.
He has slick back hair. What is his name?
Is the character?
Yeah.
I don't remember, but he is like unhinged.
Dick face
dick.
guy. I'll just call him.
Yeah. I mean,
Dick.
who would be mean to Wayne? He's like the sweetest guy
He's
ever.
the sweetest guy.
You know?
And like I don't see that guy like working hard to get this thing to work. Like, fuck you, man. So they're trying all these experiments. It's not working. Meanwhile, like at the Szalinski home, as we talked about, we have got Amy going off to college. We don't know where, but she's taking a plane and Diane has to go with her to move her in. Nicky is a teenager. He's into guitars now, trying to like get some cool points for sure there. He's like, I need to step it up in the cool department, so I'm now going to take up guitar. He has a job at a water park. Yeah, there's like a lot going on for him. And then we have Adam, 2-year-old baby Adam. And in traditional Szalinski fashion, Wayne has like, created all these funny like baby toy things. And so one is like this big playpen that's really just like a cage with like
looks
rope.
like a hamster house almost. It's like plexiglass, like all
and
like
the joke
built in.
Yeah, and the joke is that like he's not supposed to be able to get out of there, but somehow he keeps getting out of there. So remember that, because that's a good foreshadowing of like what is gonna continue to happen here. And Nicky's having a hard time with Adam. He like really wants to be a teenager, but like Adam's annoying and is like picking up his guitar and playing with it. And Nicky has a crush on a girl, Mandy. Doesn't really know how to like approach this, and so he's like asking his parents for like weird, like vague advice. So Diane goes with Amy to college, and then it's now like a boys' day or weekend. I forget like how long this period of time was. So Wayne takes the boys to the lab. I forget why, because he had an idea. Oh,
Yeah.
right, because he was inspired by bedtime when he was like singing Adam to sleep. There was like, I forget the thing that a balloon. I don't even. There's like meow science. Like I don't really get it. So like he goes to the lab with this idea. Somehow his like lab access has been like revoked or whatever, and now he can't even like get in the lab. But he goes anyways. Keeps Adam in the stroller, and then they like do this thing, and Nicky's like, Dad, use this Coke bottle to like I don't know, do something. And keep in mind,
wasn't that the reason why the shrinking machine didn't work too? Because remember there was like an apple on something, and the thing had to go through like the apple to work. Remember?
Yeah.
Wasn't it the same reason?
Yeah, I think that was the same thing. Hello, Wayne. So keep in mind that in the beginning, when they like try this experiment first, it like completely pulverizes whatever the thing is that they're trying to enlarge. It like actually explodes it. So you're like, ooh, this can't be good. So they put this like Coke bottle in, and then they're like, okay, this should work. And then they're not even looking at the beam they're testing it on Adam's stuffed bunny. And neither Wayne or Nicky are like paying attention at all to like this. It's like a countdown. It's a very serious matter. And Adam's just like in the stroller. And of course he gets out and is like, I want my bunny back. And is like walks up to the thing and then gets hit with the laser thing. Nothing happens. He's just like absorbing this like weird blue glittery special effect. And then he goes back in the stroller. So they don't even know that like he got hit. And they're like, wow, I guess it didn't work. However, the bunny and Adam both start to get a little bit bigger, like very slowly. So it starts like very minimally, and he like can't get Adam out of his car seat. And Adam's like, I'm big. And he's like, wow, you really put on a couple pounds, and like has to take the whole car seat into the house. So then they're trying to like make dinner. It doesn't go well. They like burn the chicken or whatever Diane left them. So then they start using the microwave. And when they use the microwave, Adam gets even bigger. And they're like, whoa, what the fuck? So they're like really freaked out. And he's not just like big. He's like giant already. Not as giant as he gets like in the end, but like significantly bigger than a regular human being.
Yeah,
and this is
like
the part
size of like Hagrid, I'd say.
Yes,
like
and
Harry
this is
Potter.
the part that cracked me up, because they're like, "Oh, I know. I'll just go to the Big and Tall store and like get him some clothes." And I'm like, I don't think the Big and Tall store even, and also like even if he had human adult male clothes on, I would still be like, whoa, what is going on here? That's a giant person. Like, it's not that he's a baby, it's that he's huge. Like, you know, like, I just don't think their solution would have like helped. Like, if someone saw him, it still would have been weird. So they like get him in these like adult clothes, put this like beekeeper hood on him, and they get him back to the lab, and they can't do anything with that because they're locked out. They're not allowed. The bad guy's there. The bad dick scientist guy's there. And it's like, what are you doing here? Blah, blah, blah. So they have to like abort. So they like go back home.
They say like that he's their like Uncle Janos or something.
Yeah, right. And he's just like, it's so weird. And it's like so creepy. The like big baby, but not giant. Yeah. Like, I don't know, because sometimes they clearly did have like just a man in there. Yes. I feel like for a second, and then they would switch back to like the baby Adam, who is just like an enlarged version of it was like, you know, pretty bad special effects, but like you could tell when it was like an actual person versus
if
like
he wasn't
the Adam.
Outside, like the outside ones were bad because they just had to do something with like enlarging the actual kid, like with film. But then you're right, they did have a guy in like a suit and like a get up, and I think that was all the inside scenes because it did look really real and it was really creepy.
It was. So they go back home and they're like, we have to fix this before your mother gets home, like she's never gonna forgive me. And I'm like, yeah, definitely. And so they pull into the driveway and Diane's like, I'm home. And they're like, fuck. And Wayne like books it out of the driveway, almost kills his entire family, just like shooting out the thing. And then they like try to get away, but I don't know. They end up being like, okay, never mind. We have to go back. We have to tell her the truth. So she's like, what the? And
she faints.
She faints. But did he get even bigger then? No, he stays this size for like a amount of time. Okay.
And let me tell you, I have had incidents where like my child comes home and has like an injury, and I'm always like, what the hell happened? Or sometimes I get found out, like my husband tells me after the fact that something has happened, and I like flip out. And I'm always like, you tell me immediately if something has happened to my child. Like, do not be like scared. I'm going to get upset with you. Like, this is our child. I need to know. I cannot imagine what that mother was feeling like. Not only just from that specific situation, but that she already had to deal with this with her other two kids a couple years ago. And like, yes, Wayne is so sweet and sort of like this absent-minded professor, but like, what the heck are you doing?
What are you doing? So previous to when Adam got bigger, they had called a babysitter to come over because he wanted to take Nikki on like a boys' night to the movies or something. That all goes to shit because Adam got bigger and then they forgot about it, right? So the babysitter is still coming. So suddenly Wayne has this idea, my shrinking machine is still in the warehouse. All I have to do is go back and get it, and then we can shrink Adam. So they're like, great, Nikki has to stay here with the giant baby, and like they keep him trapped in this like rope thing, kind of like the playpen, but not. And
not secured very well though.
No. And then they like get him to fall asleep, and then they're like, okay, we'll be back soon, like within an hour, I think they said. Of course, they hit a bunch of snags, and like the warehouse is massive. They can't find the fucking thing. They finally find it. They get like pulled over by motorcycle cops, and then they like they shrink the cops, and then the cops are like, never mind, you're fine. And it's this whole thing. Nikki, meanwhile, his worst fear, his crush, Mandy, is the babysitter. So that's just my question. Is that like, so Diane just like had that number as if this is the babysitter that we use, right? Yeah. How is that possible? Because wouldn't Nikki know that like she was the babysitter?
Yeah.
I don't really get
it seemed like when Wayne called her, the babysitter, it was very like impromptu, like, hey, could you come over at 3:30 today?
So like, she had to have that didn't make any sense.
But then she had a piece of paper with like the address on it when she arrived, though. So I don't know if she ever had babysat for them.
I know, and she said, because she's like, my rate has now increased to $2.50 an hour. LOL.
Oh my God, I have that written down. I'm being like, oh my God. Do you know how much babysitters are now? Like $25. I get inflation and the years have gone by, but I mean, I was a babysitter. What is this, 1992? I was getting to be a babysitter at this time. I think I made like $5 though, I want to say. Yeah,
big bucks.
Still $2.50. What are you gonna do with? Oh, sweet, I'm there for the whole afternoon. I made $6. Like what?
So wild.
Yeah.
So Nikki's like, shit, now I have this babysitter here. And he's like, we don't need a babysitter anymore. Goodbye. And he like tries to get her to leave, but she like doesn't, whatever. Sees the giant baby, is like screaming and screams. Nikki thinks like
Passes out too.
Passes out. Nikki is like, okay, the thing to do here is tie her up to a chair and don't let her leave. And she's obviously like freaked out more because she's tied to a chair and there's this giant baby in the house. He puts Adam in front of the TV. Puts on like Richard Simmons' Sweat into the Oldies and is like, here you go, kid. Have a good time. Unfortunately, the TV makes Adam even bigger. And so now he's huge and crashes out the window and is out in the world. And so now the jig is up because now like the whole neighborhood knows that like there's this giant baby. So it's already like pretty chaotic. There's all these like upturned cars. Diane and Wayne arrive to the house and they see this and they're like, what the fuck? And some like government guys like, well, your kids are okay. They got taken away with like these other people and we've got your son. He's very big. He's locked up in a truck and we're going to get him somewhere safe. And they're like, what? And they're like freaking out. So of course, they have Adam like in a truck with just like a fabric piece of like curtain like protecting this. It didn't seem very secure, to be honest. And so they pass a bunch of power lines and then that makes Nikki even bigger. So now he's like over 50 feet tall and he's like actually like Godzilla level baby causing, walking or running around Las Vegas causing trouble. And so Wayne's like, why is this happening? So meanwhile, like the owner of the lab, Lloyd Bridges, like arrives and there's this like kind of weird standoff with the dick guy and he actually ends up firing the dick like asshole guy. And you're like, cool, great. And the Lloyd Bridges character is like actually like very nice and like and fun and like wants to figure this out with Wayne and like help him. So they're like, why does he keep getting bigger? And so they like think it out. And then Wayne's like, oh, electromagnetic flux. So anytime there's like any electric energy or like wavelengths around him, it makes him bigger. So they're like, shit, he's gonna walk in downtown in Las Vegas where there's all those neon lights, so he's gonna get even bigger. Like we gotta figure this out. So the objective now is to like get Adam controlled, calm down long enough so that they can shrink him with the laser, and they need like some amount of time for him to be still, like I don't know, a minute or I don't know, it's like some kind of amount of time. And so they try a couple ideas. Meanwhile, he has picked up Nikki and Mandy and like put him in his little like overall front pocket. So Nikki and Mandy pretty much stay inside of his pocket for like the duration of the movie, except when they get into a real car, or was that a toy car that got bit? It was real car, right?
A real car that is like a toy car to Adam.
To Adam. Yeah. He's like obsessed with cars. So he's like picks it up and like puts that in his pocket, like puts it on his sign. It's this whole thing. So primarily the takeaway is they stay in the pocket or in that car the whole time. And so their idea to get Adam to sit still is to like send this ice cream truck, because he loves ice cream. So they like send this ice cream truck. It doesn't work. Adam like rips the ice cream sign off the top and they're like, okay, new plan. Finally, Diane, mastermind, is like, oh, I know, like, we just need to send me into him. Like, he needs his mommy. And Wayne's like, I should do it, Diane. I should be the one. And I'm like, no, Wayne. Like, okay, the rule number one with Adam that you learn pretty immediately is that you cannot say the nap word. And which, do they call that the N word?
Yeah.
Yikes. Oh, so he can't say nap because he freaks out. Like, he's getting sleepy, and then Wayne's always like, take a nice nap. And then
and before they decide to potentially enlarge the mom, they get the giant bunny, big bunny. No, what do they call the bunny?
Yeah, big bunny.
Who is a real big bunny now, and they lift it up by a helicopter, and then they sing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. So Wayne goes over with like a bullhorn, and he does this like funny little voice, and he goes, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. And then he starts getting really tired, and he's like sucking his thumb, and then he's going to be able to either pass out or stay still, and then they can do the laser. But then, as Sweetie said, unfortunately, Wayne keeps forgetting about the N word. Not that N word, guys. The nap. Don't say nap around him, or he freaks
revolts.
out and he says, okay, time to take a nap, and he goes ballistic.
Freaking Wayne. He's so smart, but forgets these like tiny things.
You
Like
know
classic.
Classic dad.
So Diane's like, okay, he needs his mom. Like, I'm gonna like hold him, and then he's gonna calm down, and you're gonna shrink us both down. Meanwhile, the like dick asshole guy is like, let's shoot like tranks at the baby. I don't know why he's going rogue to
what
like.
was his like mission there? Because he wants to.
don't
He's
know.
the side that wants to like test him.
Yeah, I think that's it. He
Right?
wants to
Yeah.
capture Adam, and then like as if you could do that with like both the parent. I don't know. It was like such a
Yeah.
strange power move. And so they're like firing these like tranks at him, and then meanwhile, Diane's gonna get enlarged, and so then you hear this like boom, boom, and then Diane's like, I forget what she says, but she like pinches the helicopter between her fingers, and she's like, "Stop" or something. And she's like, "Stop shooting at my baby." And then she's like, "Adam, come to mommy." And then they have this like cute little, and he's like, "Mommy," and they like run. This is the part that Sweetie cried at, obviously. And then
Yeah,
he like
we'll talk
runs
about
into
that
her
later.
arms, and she holds him, and then she pretends they're like, "Look at daddy," like they're posing for a picture. And then the shrinking machine works, and they shrink him down, and everything's safe. But then they're like, "Wait, but we forgot about Nick and Mandy, who are still in the pocket." So they're still shrunk because they're in the now little car.
Yes. Now it is a toy car, and they're little in it.
Okay. Yeah. And so now they have to find them and then shrink. So that's like this whole thing. But it's not really a big deal. They don't really it's like not a big deal, I guess. So that's that. It doesn't seem like there's any like fallout from this. You like I don't get
We'll
the sense
find
that
out.
like they're in trouble or like anything like that. Very strange. But all is good back in the family. They've survived another incident, and Las Vegas is changed forever,
Changed forever.
presumably.
So
yeah, that's
yeah.
it.
So Sweetie said, I didn't think yesterday was going to be the day I cried at Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, but it was. The end is so sweet. Like basically anything with like a mom baby thing like rips me apart now. And tears were like streaming down my face. I mean, granted, I'm like 9 months pregnant, but I was just like, oh my God, like, mommy. And he comes like running towards her with these like giant steps. And like, really, when you get to be a parent or an aunt or an uncle or whatever, that is like some of the best times of your day when your little kid doesn't see you for a while and they come like running towards you and they're so excited to see you. And it's like it's just like the entire reason to have kids. I like swear to God, it's like those moments. So it was like I was just like crying hysterically and then started immediately like looking at pictures of my daughter on my phone, being like, there she is. Because like she's at daycare all day, so I don't see her. Oh man, but yeah, like I was so triggered by this movie as the mom of a 2-year-old, and I'm sure like Sweetie was as well as an aunt of a 2-year-old. Like so many things like were so on point for like how a 2-year-old behaves, like what you do to try to make them eat, sleep. Like the mom at one point goes like, daddies are for playing, like moms mean business. I'm like, no, amen, sister.
Everybody knows daddies mean fun, mommies mean business.
I mean, if you could have told me when I watched this movie, like when I was 10 years old, like that, okay, you're gonna relate to this movie like so much. I would not have believed you, but I just felt it was just like so spot on with just like they must have had writers definitely must have had a 2-year-old or had been through the 2-year-old thing. It's just like the specific moment of child when your child is this old, this like 2-3-year-old step when it's just like it's such a wild time and like you really are doing like anything you can to get them to do things because they're just like so wild and their emotions are flying all over the place, but they're so cute and they say funny things. Like, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Is there any moment
so
that sticks out as like the biggest, like, I don't know. Do you have examples of like the toddler things that you...
Well, so like the singing thing, like we're in the thick of that right now, let me tell you. So my daughter is a kid who like, and this is most toddlers. I swear to God, she doesn't have OCD, but like she loves doing the same thing every day. Like the routine is so strong with her. I have to sing the Wheels on the Bus to her every night before we go to bed. It has been this way for 3 months. I literally want to die. And sometimes she doesn't like remind me to do it for a little bit. And I think today's the day. Today's the day we're not going to have to sing Wheels on the Bus. But nope. Like maybe it won't be 5 minutes in or 1 minute in. It'll be 5 minutes in. And then she's like, Mommy, Wheels on the Bus. And I'm like, damn it. So that's one of them. There's a scene where they do the hokey pokey.
Yes.
We're just getting into
it.
the hokey pokey right now. She's obsessed with it. She loves it. She like wants to do it all the time. Yeah, like the eating thing, like they had them sitting down eating, and that was like kind of funny. Actually, that was like a good little trick he had. He was like played restaurant because Adam's like, I want to go to a restaurant. And he was like, we can be the restaurant. And he like took his order. Like that was cute. My daughter's a little older, so I think Adam was like just starting to speak. She talks like a lot more and is way more feisty, as like a sassy little girls tend to be. But yeah, it's just been like it was so great. And at the end of, and then like the whole theme of the movie being like, even though he was so giant, like he gets hurt at one point because does he get like a little
like
electric
guitar
shock or something, or from the dart?
The darts they're firing hit the guitar that he's the Hard Rock Cafe guitar, and he's like, ow. Yeah.
And he's out and he's looking for his mom, and he just sees like this whole crowd of people and the big buildings, and you can just see like, and the little kid was like, oh my God, like where's my mom? And that's like all their whole life. Like, it's so funny. Like you think they're running around and they're falling, but like my daughter, like as soon as she falls, like she needs me like immediately, even if it's for like 1 minute for me just to hold her. And it's usually just me that can do it. She like her dad will try to comfort her, but like it just doesn't work. She has to come to me, or she has to come to me and tell me what happened. Like it's just like part of her. Like I gotta tell my mom.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was super fun. It was a fun watch for me, like for sure. Even with the tears.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting movie. So last week we watched Batman and Robin, and I made a comment that like the rating for that movie on IMDb was like one of the lowest I've ever seen. It was like 3.8 or something. Pretty sure this movie has the same rating on IMDb.com. I don't think it's like terrible, but I think that like they're definitely trying to do like a spin on like a monster is creating chaos in a city, like Godzilla, all these like old sci-fi movies from like the 50s that were just like big ants go, and like just like they like made whatever big, and then like that was the thing. So there's a lot of lines in here that are like kind of silly, but they sound very like lines from those kinds of movies, so it didn't bother me so much. But I did find it a little draggy. Like it wasn't as exciting to me. Definitely not as the first one. The first one was so like innovative because they created all those sets and things to make it look like they were really shrunk. And you remember I made such a big deal about the grass, and I was like, guys, grass really looks like that close up. Like it's hairy, it's weird. And so that was so cool. So it's really hard to do that the opposite way, because it's not as fun.
It's not as
when
fun.
It's a big thing, because then like the special effects just like show more. Because it's not as easy to do that. Like you can't really,
And we weren't seeing that much like of what everything looked like from his point of view.
Right.
The whole Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was like you were the size of the kids, and you were seeing, oh my God, this is what an ant looks like when you're this tall. So that was like way more fun. There's not a lot of depth to this one. No. There's not a lot going on. Like it's
just like a disaster movie. Yeah.
Yeah. It just was like, and it didn't do as well at all as like they were hoping. And interesting, concept, and definitely a way to do a sequel. But yeah,
I just found it like a little boring. So yeah, it's too bad. But now I understand why they went back to shrinking for the third one, because they were like, But and I think in that one they're just lost like in their house or somene's house, because there's like this Matchbox car part, like there's this whole thing. So the potassium, as I mentioned. So yeah, but yeah, I wasn't like, I definitely zoned out hard at like the end.
Yeah, I did too.
I just didn't care about that like asshole scientist guy, and I was like, I just like, he got fired by Lloyd Bridges, and I was like, I guess you're done. And then he was still around, and it annoyed me.
Yeah, exactly.
Go
and like,
away.
But I guess there had to be some sort of like for the first one, it was like, are they gonna survive? I guess. And then like the next one, this one, it's not like, is the baby gonna survive? It had to have like some sort of danger element, and I guess the danger element like was this guy. And like with that whole thing, so remember, like he hires a helicopter, which is like done by like Marines or something like that. And there's that one guy who's like, hey, like I'm a dad, like what are you doing? And he's like against him the whole time and trying to like foil his like evil plans. Like everyone was so like pro kid and so like
except
nice
for that guy.
Except for that one guy. Exactly.
It was
so
annoying.
that was like the evil thing.
Totally.
I want to say that like the 80s and 90s movies about science stuff, so we've covered a lot of them, have really let me down in terms of like what we've ended up pursuing as like science stuff, because none of this stuff has happened, right? Unless we don't know about it, because shrinking was a big deal. Like inner space, this movie, like, or Sunny and Shrunk the Kids, whatever. Is there shrinking? Is there technology and experiments going on about how to shrink people? Is that useful?
No.
Not useful, right?
No.
Do we need it?
No, we have tools that are like laser. We just have like the whole reason they were doing that, like in inner space, was so that you could like do these
Get in the
minuscule little
body.
operations inside of a body or like stuff like that. But now we have like science tech that like allows for that to happen. So I think they just like weren't
Same thing
thinking
with blowing up.
big
like,
picture.
Why would
Yeah.
we need to blow up?
We
Like,
wouldn't.
Why would that be a thing?
No, it's a terrible idea. So yeah, that's kind of silly.
Men-
but there was like,
men carrying babies. Did that ever come to fruition? No. How about Chip and the androids? Is there like human like looking robots? And I know AI is like
Not
the
yet.
thing, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not really robots though. You know how they're obsessed with like robot creation?
yeah, it's similar though. It's like this artificial intelligence. So I don't know, maybe. I mean, there was Wayne's. So he had a lot of experiments, like in the first one. In this one, it's mostly like the minivan is like solar powered,
Solar, yeah.
and there's like all of Wayne's inventions are prototypes basically. So they're like huge. So they just have like these giant things on them, and it looks so ridiculous. He has this like face shaver that's like massaging and like shaving his face, and like
What was with the
playpen.
mailbox?
The mailbox would like blink a light when they got mail. I don't know what the pull there, what like the exciting thing about that
Yeah.
was. But yeah, he's still making weird inventions.
Yeah.
But yeah,
How about
yeah.
time travel? Are people working on time travel? That's what I'm interested in. And is that going
That's
anywhere?
too dangerous. I feel like that's just like recipe for disaster based on like I don't
Right.
want to like
We
blow up
learned
the world
from
by accident.
We learned from Back to the Future. Don't mess
Don't
with the
mess with the
past. It
past.
messes with the
Don't
present.
mess with the future. Yeah. So
Right.
good times. All right. What do you want? Do you want to talk about? something in
So
particular?
I saw this. Huh?
I just asked if you wanted to talk about something in particular.
Oh, so I didn't see this, but it was in the trivia that the two teenagers in this movie, so Nick and who's Carrie Russell's character? Mandy, have the posters from the musical group The Party. Now, I said this to Sweetie, and she didn't remember who this was just from the name The Party. So I'm going to remind you all. The Party was the singing group that came out of the Mickey Mouse Club. So you had Tiffany. You had...
Not to be confused with the Tiffany.
Yeah. Cece, I want to say. It was 2 girls and 3 boys.
They weren't all in this? I thought this was just
No,
like,
it was a group of 5, the most like popular, talented, quote unquote, of this Miss Mickey Mouse group.
Okay.
You had the redhead one, Chase, I want to say, Damon, and your boy Albert was in it. Yeah.
What?
So it was this singing group, and they had like some original jams, and they were called The Party, and they made music videos, and they would
It's a terrible name.
perform on the Mickey Mouse Club. It's a terrible name, but I just like was obsessed with it at the time because I love the Mickey Mouse Club, and I loved like what was the Asian girl's name? It wasn't like Cece. It was something like that. Let's look it up. But I just find that so funny. No, it wasn't The Party. Singing
Members
group.
of the party.
MMC. Okay, here we go. Wow, I almost had everything right. This is great. Dee Dee. Okay.
Dee Dee.
Was the Asian woman's name. Albert, Tiffany, Chase, Dee Dee, and Damon.
Wow.
1999. Oh, 2013, the group reunited without
What?
Tiffany Hale. But yeah, look those up. Their first single,
gonna-
Summer Vacation. So they like released singles. They were like on the radio. I Found Love. That's why they had a
These were original
concert.
songs, not like
Yeah.
MMC
Exactly.
style, just like doing. Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah, I'm
I
going to have to
know.
look that up. That's funny.
Yeah. Look
Walk
up that.
down
Amazing.
memory lane.
And then, as Sweetie said, there's a scene where they play Sweat into the Oldies, Richard Simmons. I'm sure we talked about him before. I'm not sure
We
in
must
like
have.
what context, but man, always makes me smile, always takes me back. Our mom was definitely like subscribed to like workouts, whatever, through the years, and that was a big one.
Well, this was in the
around
day
this time
when,
period.
yeah, where they advertised these tapes on TV,
On
and
TV,
you would
yeah.
like call and get them. So our mom had all of them.
Yeah.
I think. And
Yes.
I remember like the cover. There's like the blue plaid cover. There's like the one that they're watching in this. There's this like, black woman who's I remember that woman like so well, and like and I was like, oh my god, yes, that lady from the Swim with the Oldies video, I love her, and like they were so funny, and like we didn't really get it as like we got that my mom was like into it, and our mom like loved aerobics. I remember like going to an aerobics class with my mom like at Willie's gym when I was like little, and I was like, what is going on? And it was such a funny trend because like now you have like Zumba and like these things that like are incorporating dancing and aerobics, but Sweating with the Oldies was like a very specific genre of that, which was like oldies. And then you have Richard
music.
Simmons, who would wear these like hilarious like short shorts and these like tank tops. He had this like curly fro, and he was just like so hyper and fun and like gay, and like he was just the best.
Yeah, it was
And
so
he-
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. And then so like 10 years ago or something like that, he disappears off the face of the earth. And this was at the peak of the podcast revolution. There was this podcast called like Finding Richard Simmons. And it was like this guy was set out to like figure out what happened to Richard Simmons. Is he a recluse? Is he being held? People thought he was being held like hostage in his house by his like housekeeper. There were like all these weird like conspiracy theories and rumors. Turns out he just wanted to be left alone, and like he didn't want any business of that. So that was sad. And it was like, okay, I guess we can't do this anymore. And then a couple weeks ago or like a month ago, they're announcing that Pauly Shore is starring in a Richard Simmons biopic movie. And Richard Simmons allegedly tweets like, they do not have my permission to do this. And it's like this whole thing, like, just leave me alone. I just want to be left alone. So he's back in the news again. And I'm like, I'm really interested to know if that movie will actually happen or not.
Right.
I did some like light researching into, are you allowed to do a movie on somebody who is
Right.
alive? And like, yes, you can. You just have to like adhere to certain like privacy rules. So they can't just like make up wrong, like incorrect shit. They can't like slant, like, like the classic stuff, meow meow legalese. And so I don't know if it'll happen, but I'm interested. And like, obviously he's such like a important part of the 80s. And so it was just really funny to see that video in this movie. I think it was
I know.
my favorite part, probably.
Yeah, really took me back. I think I've said before, I have this childhood memory of like, we went to bed and I hear like this raucous downstairs, and I come down our little stairs, and I put my head through the banisters, blah blah blah, and I see Mom and Dad sweating to the oldies, and like I put the biggest smile on my face. It was so
That is
fucking
hilarious.
cute, because our dad didn't like work out at all,
Yeah.
and was like not into fitness, and it was so cute. They were like doing them together. It was such a trend. We would put those on all the time, not even necessarily to do them, but literally just to watch them as like movies, because they were so entertaining.
Yeah, I feel like we did. That's so weird.
Because
My
they had
favorite-
the band, they had like the band dressed up sometimes as the characters, and then they'd always show at the end like, oh, this is like Tina, and they'd be like, she's lost like so many pounds,
Yeah.
and sometimes they do like before and afters, and the people were like so energetic and happy, and it was just like such a mood booster. I don't know, I freaking love those.
Yeah, they're great. I'm
Yeah.
gonna look up some of those on YouTube. Get
I
back into it.
know. You will
Good
be like
shit.
instantly transported, and like you said, like you'll remember the people, like that lady, this lady, that
Yeah.
guy, like, oh my god,
So nice.
so cute,
Lovely.
so
Lovely.
cute.
But yeah, so yeah, fun little baby movie. So hopefully we get to see some others before Sweetie here pops, but you never know. But yeah, anything else?
Nope, that's it for me.
Okay, well, thanks for listening. You can find us on Instagram at Large Marge Sent Us. Thank you as always for listening. Bye.
Bye.